Also, it's a huge challenge because many times AI is misused more than it is used, at least in social domains. And what we see, problems arising out of there. That is also something we're going to discuss today. And finally, that is why Vision India has brought together on this platform. It's a conversation on how we plan, how we develop, and how we ascend finally. The P.D.A. Formula is how we're going to address the challenges of the economy, of the society, and governance. That's what brings us today here. It's a great pleasure that I welcome here today on the stage along with me. It's an honor to have people, distinguished dignitaries from your great city. I'll start with, ladies first. So first, I'd like to welcome Sunila Golapudi-ji. Our esteemed panelist, Sunila Golapudi-ji, embodies the powerful intersection of advanced technology, deep knowledge in Indian performing arts, and a seasoned technologist. She's a thought leader in the fields of artificial intelligence. She's played technology leadership roles at Oracle, Broadridge, Accenture, JP Morgan, and Google. She's also visiting faculty at ISB teaching advanced AI and data engineering. She's a prolific author of books and papers on AI, machine learning, data engineering, and semantic interferencing, with pioneering work on implementing knowledge graphs to enhance generative AI systems. Beyond the corporate, she is an accomplished practitioner and guru of the classical dance form Andhra Natyam and a visually trained artist in Shilp Shastra. Sunila Ji's doctoral research, multimodal generative AI for legacy preservation, is a groundbreaking effort. It's a pleasure to have you here. Last thing, I will also tell her that her work redefines AI and was showcased at the Google Research Conference 2025. Most welcome. I'd like you to take the center seat, please. Next, it's an honor to invite Mr. Shiraj Chaudhary ji. He has been a veteran of the industry for 32 years, 22 years of that in leadership roles. He's been on the board of directors of Jubilant, Career Air Conditioning, BKG Foods, Triveni Engineering. He has also been on the boards of Tata Consumer Products, Tata Coffee, IndusInd Bank, Air India, TajSAT, SATS India. Advisory positions include Louis Dreyfus, AB British International Investments, and he's been a managing director and non-executive chairman of SATS, managing director of and CEO of National Collateral Management Limited, and chairman of the food and marketing company Cargill India from August 2008 to 2018. It's a great pleasure to have you here, Shiraji. Most welcome. Finally, I would like to invite somebody who is almost a local agent in the context. You speak to anybody in Hyderabad, they know the name, and there's a lot of reverence, there's a lot of respect for that name. It's with great joy that I invite Mahankali Srinivas Rao, popularly called as MSR, an IT industry veteran with over 38 years of experience. He's worked as a professional for 12 years, as an entrepreneur for 21 years. He's a great partner in the system. He's been on the promoter team of Network Solutions, which he sold to IBM in 2005, and then co-founded and was CEO of Aegis Networks, which he sold to National Stock Exchange in Delhi. As an ecosystem builder since 2020, first as the CEO of Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship, and then as CEO of T-Hub, India's largest startup incubator between 21 October and October 24. He'll also be an adjunct professor at IIM Raipur, adjunct professor at ASCII Hyderabad, and multiple roles, and also has an MBA from IIM Bangalore. It's an honor to have you here. MSR, I'll welcome you with those words. I now request Honorable Member of Parliament, Rajiv Rai Sahab, to please come on the stage and welcome our dignitaries with a bouquet, please. Can we have the bouquets on the dais, please? I'll request Rajiv Rai ji to start with MSR. Please give a big round of applause to welcome our guests on the stage. Request Rajiv ji to welcome Sunila ji. I request Rajiv ji to welcome Shiraj Chaudhary, sir. Thank you very much. And with that, I declare this session begin, and we'll move to the dais and start. Thank you. Perfect. So, there's a lot of talk that everybody, even today, if you read the newspapers, you'll probably find one article on AI on every single newspaper today, right? So, Sunila ji, I want to start with you. Right? You've been in the industry, you doing a doctoral research, you've been in academia, you've been a research scholar. And very interesting thing that I noticed about you is that you bring together not just the technological background and the academic background, but also combined and fuse that with something which is very dear to our hearts, which is Indian music, Indian classical dance, Indian traditions, our local mythology, our stories that we all grow up as a child, right? So you're trying to combine and use artificial intelligence there, right? Integrating how people train, how we train in music, how we train in dance, and how do you, firstly, how do you traverse both the worlds? How do you make sure that, that's something that got you excited? And use of artificial intelligence, you said generative AI using for the dance industry, I shouldn't call it an industry, it's more like a culture part of us, music, and how do you manage that? So, for example, when you're portraying Radha Krishna on the stage, right? So as a human being, we are aware that Radha Krishna, their facial expressions, their dance forms, there's music. How does AI do that? How do you marry that with AI? That's something I want to start with.
Thank you very much. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting, and I think...
it's great to have you here.
And all the prestigious dignitaries here. It's wonderful. One thing all of us have to realize is when we're talking about AI, everyone says, oh my God, AI is coming, our jobs will be gone, or something is changing. Yep. What we don't realize is AI is meant for larger good, right? That's the theme of our Vision India, right? So the larger good we're talking about is the Indian rich cultural heritage. So I've spent 38 years performing Indian classical dances and 22 plus years in technology, right? So the interesting part is what you can see in conglomeration here. I'll give you a simple example, sir. We've got a lot of people who are learning arts, practicing arts. I'm sure you all heard about the Guru Sishya Parampara or Gurukula Parampara, right? Where the gurus would come, they've inherited the art from many years and they transfer it to the next generations. Now today we are in a juncture where this transmission is hindered, right? Either because of technological advancements or patronage to arts, right? So how do you make sure the authenticity is traveling? So a simple example I can take is the research I'm doing is more in terms of temple dance forms, right? And this is 2000 years old. So we're talking about from Natya Shastra 200 BCE on all the rules which have come, plus all the gurus who formulated this, all Devadasis who danced in the temple, who followed the rituals, and how can that be, contained and brought together. So if you asked me this question 4 years ago, I would say it's a difficult problem to solve. Come generative AI. So I'll spend 10 seconds about the difference between the generative AI and analytical pieces, right? So we always had artificial intelligence for 50 year plus, right? So artificial intelligence had the analytical part, predictive part, and the generative part. What you're seeing with Gemini or ChatGPT or new things is the generative part. We never thought it could think to generate something new based on what it sees, right? So that's the whole idea. So then there's another acronym I would like to add, which is called multimodal.
Multimodal, yeah.
Yes, it's MODAL, yeah. Model. So when I say multimodal, that means like the way we are humans, we see, that's vision. We talk, that's speech. We hear, right? That's
Audio.
Yes, audio, right?
Yeah.
So, and we have to combine all these three things to visualize. Let's say in the audience here today, we've got a 50-year-old great expert in the guru, as a guru, and I perform. The guru can interpret me very well, right? Criticize or interpret. But how can you make sure that all these elements can be combined together, right? The multi-modal aspects can be combined,
Right.
and then it can be generated. So, bhava, rasa, abhinaya, costumes, right? Footwork, everything. If I do a speed footwork, then it means there's an excitement or aggression relative to this. So you're talking about music, lyrical, the ragas, the tunes used, analyzing that. We're talking about the dancer himself, herself, how they're performing, the facial abhinaya, the body postures, the hand mudras, they're all visuals, right? Or even what story we are narrating, right? The mythological stories, the characters we are playing. Krishna has a flute, right? There's a peacock feather.
Right.
Bhama has got a golden plate. Or Vishnu has Shankar Chakra, right? So there are a lot of in-depth things. And with the new models coming in, we're able to extract the patterns here. So two things. One is how can I preserve the legacy by bringing these aspects and extract a digitized version of it, A. Two is learn from all the experts who are probably not reachable to all the new generations coming.
Sure.
Generate the patterns and disseminate it.
Okay. So does that mean that, the arts and the crafts and the music, the maestros we have, we always are very aware that, a day will come when we will not have those maestros, right? Shehnai or sitar or music or dance and other art forms. Do you think that's giving us an opportunity of creating if I can use that word, digital twinning, to create something which can then last for perpetuity? So imagine, for example, Ustad Bismillah Khan's teaching, to generations and after generations, and Birju Maharaj, teaching Kathak to somebody. Do you think that digital twinning is possible today?
100%. So we're talking about learning the patterns of a guru, right?
Right.
So understanding. So I spent 35 years with my guru. So when he's choreographing on me, I know what's coming next.
Right.
Because I spent so many tens of years
Right.
with him or her, right? What if I say the patterns are learned by the machine? The expertise is held as a digital twin. Like you rightly use the word, Abhishek ji, the digital twin, right?
Right.
So we're talking about, there are a lot more new technologies called twin minds,
Right.
digital twins,
Yeah.
right? The twin word is used a lot. We're talking about containing the expertise, what they have gained through their gurus and generations to come in a box, right? Called a digital twin.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. MSR, if I could come to you on that point. So suppose there was, Sunila ji, who said that this is what I'm excited about, and she comes to you with your experience as a professional who understands artificial intelligence, IT, and your experience as an innovator and an incubator of innovation. And she says, look, this is what the technology I want to create, and I want to create an AI which will learn this and pass it on to generations, right? As an entrepreneur, innovator, and incubator, what advice would you give her? Or what advice would you give to a startup today if they want to start a company around that? What would you say?
Sure. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me here. Really pleasure, first of all, to be talking to you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Very eminent people and great
Yes.
audience.
Yeah.
So I think fundamentally, right, I think when you look at AI, and I think Sunila ji mentioned it can be a force for good.
Right.
And we also know there could be some downside, but
Right.
I'm an optimist.
Yes.
Right? And so I tend to focus
so
on
am
the
I, yeah.
force for good.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what we must realize is, so you go back and look at eras, right? So the printing press, the steam engine, the automobile, we are at that
Internal
point.
combustion engine. Yeah.
We are at that point now.
Okay.
Right? This could be, while Sunila ji said, Alan Turing started his work about 60 years ago, but I think we've reached a point today, right, where this could be really, really game changing. Right?
Wow.
So that's one. Now, if you think about it as an innovator, as an entrepreneur, particularly in the Indian context, the way I look at it is there are large models which big companies, we know which companies we are talking about,
Right.
are building.
Sure.
But I think there are plenty of other issues to solve. Right?
Right.
So you think about issues where, for example, there are high friction tasks which need to be done. There are information discontinuities or information blockages, etc.
Right. Gaps.
So the way I look at it is, first identify what problem you want to solve. Right?
Okay.
And if you look around us, there are plenty of problems waiting to be solved.
Absolutely.
And just to take a few examples from the business world, right? So, for example, how can I serve my customers better? Okay. How can I ensure I can accelerate, I can qualify leads which come into a business,
Right.
as an example, right?
Sure.
Or how can I reduce the time for prototyping, right? How, for example, if
Time
you
to
take
market.
time to market, or if you take, for example, in areas like drug discovery, right? Companies spend millions and billions of dollars to come up with a drug.
Sure.
Essentially, it's about patterns, testing, etc. So, can I figure out how to accelerate that process, right?
Right.
So, my advice to anyone who wants to go down this journey, one is the big companies will do what they're doing.
Right.
But I think there are plenty of opportunities to focus on issues which are very endemic to India.
Indian context.
Indian context.
Right.
And solve problems related to, for example, healthcare.
Right.
Right. Solve problems related to public service delivery and so on.
And so on
right?
and so forth. Right.
So that is one. Now, the important thing to remember is it's not about creating a fancy slide deck, pitch deck,
No,
etc. But look at what problem you're solving and what success will look like if you solve that problem. What impact are you looking to
Okay.
create, right? So, for example, look at, for example, in a commercial context, how do you, basically two things, right? How do you increase revenue? How do you lower costs?
Right.
And how can you do more with less?
Okay.
So if you focus on that,
Efficiency as a
efficiency.
factor. Right.
So I think there are two parts, right? And you're a prof, I'm a prof.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think which we talk about is you have to do the right things and you have to do things right,
Right.
right? So I think in
Both sides.
both sides,
Both sides of the equation.
I think AI can make a difference in your becoming more efficient and also becoming more effective.
Okay.
So focus on
The problem.
problem,
Right.
right?
So
And
define your
don't-
problem very clearly.
correct,
Right.
right? And people ask me why is there such a high mortality rate among startups? And I think fundamentally it is about identifying
The problem.
the right problem
Okay.
and then going after it.
Whole hog. So you mentioned 2-3 points here. I'll just pick you up on that. So you compared it to electricity, you compared it to ICE engine, you compared it to the printing press, the Gettysburg at that time. So is it something what, just to draw on the corporate lingo, what Andy Grove called that we're looking at an inflection point? Do you think AI is the next inflection point, or what Clayton used to call disruptive innovation? Is it going to disrupt a lot of industries? Do you see that?
Yes. I was this guy called Sulaiman Mustafa, right? Who works for a company
Yeah.
which competes with.
Yes, with Sunilaji's company.
Yeah. But I think he's a pioneer and whatever. So I just finished at the fag end of that book, and clearly I think it can be game changing and transformative in pretty much every aspect of life. Right? Not just, we talked about healthcare and whatever, but I think pretty much in every area. So, for example, think about aging is going to become a significant issue for us.
Indian population.
We pride ourselves that we have a young population,
Right. But not for long.
but not for long.
Not for long.
Right?
True.
That demographic dividend.
The way China is struggling today.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think it can be, as I said, a force for good.
Right.
And provided we put in the right kind of guardrails
Sure.
across and address some of the issues which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Okay.
The bias issue, data sets and privacy and so on.
Right.
I think it'll change our lives.
Okay. Before I come to, because that's again a large company context that Shirajji, but I want to ask you another question. When we read about investments in AI and large companies going after AI, we're not even talking about millions of dollars anymore. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars. We're talking about $1 trillion valuations. We're talking about $1 trillion orders. We're talking about equity stakes that run into trillions of dollars, right? As spread over the next 5, 7, 10 years. When I, as a young startup, student at an IIM Ahmedabad or IIT or wherever for that matter, right? Lucknow University for that matter, Hyderabad, Osmania, wherever. When I think about doing an AI venture startup, I suddenly feel that, look, am I at a disadvantage? Is it like now, has the game really gone only to the big people like Shirajji and Sunilaji, or somebody like myself who has hardly any money can still think of an idea, define a problem very specifically, and think about creating a business model around it and solve that problem profitably and build a company on AI. Do you think still that scale is available, or we would need support for that?
No, I think first of all, I think what I think India will be really good at, my thesis is, I think for us to now try and build another large language model.
Right.
I think that bus has passed.
Right.
And the kind of investments which are required to be made,
Okay.
I don't think we should.
We should try
as
for
an
that.
entrepreneur, we should.
So are you saying we should not even try for that?
No, we should. But
Okay.
I don't think it's something which.
It's an entrepreneurial game, not
It's not an
no longer.
entrepreneur's game.
Okay.
It has to
So
be
maybe the
done
government can do it in a structured
structured
manner.
way,
Right. Okay.
Government, academia.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But
We
I
have the
think
next
where the
session
big
on that.
opportunity to me,
Yeah.
and I obviously meet a lot of startups and all of
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
I think is in vertical models.
Okay.
Right. So, for example, we talked about healthcare.
Yeah.
Right. I'll give you several examples of companies which I know. For example, in the, let's say, the drug
Discovery.
so not drug discovery.
Okay.
Even when you're filing for a drug,
Patenting.
for a patent, for
Yeah.
a FDA regulation,
Yeah.
etc., etc. There's a lot of work which has to be done, right? Which can very easily be done by
AI.
a well-trained model where you can draw
Right.
inferences.
So contextual vertical model
Models are what will work.
is the way to go. Okay.
Similarly in fintech,
Right.
as an example.
Yeah.
Right? And I can give you examples in procurement.
Right.
Where
So supply chain management.
supply chain
Right.
management. In agri.
Right.
Right. So there are a lot of value chains where I think you can build vertical models. Okay. Where you can, two parts. There are some things where there are routine tasks which you're doing, which can be done better by AI. So you focus on judgment, you focus on reasoning,
Right.
and that part.
Okay.
Right. So I think there's plenty of opportunity. So if
Even as an
I wish,
entrepreneur.
I was telling somebody else the other day, I wish I was about 20 years younger.
Uh-huh.
So I could do another venture, right?
But you're still not old. You're still young.
No, I know. See, what I've learned as an entrepreneur who built two ventures in India. It
And
takes
sold
about-
it to IBM and NSE.
Yeah, so it takes about 10 to 12 years for you to build something.
That scale, yeah. I can imagine.
And, no regrets,
No, I'm
whatever. But I think, going back to the theme of what the question you asked, I think focused on building vertical solutions.
And contextual knowledge. Okay.
Right? For example, our legal system is clogged. We know that
Right.
we have a humongous backlog of cases. Right? If you file a case now,
God forbid.
right? So focus on those kinds of issues
Yeah.
which you can solve.
Okay, perfect. I think you've created absolutely the perfect pitch. I'm sure Shiraji couldn't have got a better pitch than that, right?
Absolutely.
So he talked about agriculture, vertical knowledge, right? I just want to add before, and you have a huge background, right, from ITC to leading Cargill for a decade in this country, right? The largest players in the world. Just tell me this. So he talked about vertical knowledge. So how do you think about AI at Cargill? That was fine. If you were still at Cargill, or if you want to go back, or if they were invited you back, for a CEO training session, and said, "Tell me what I can do at Cargill vis-a-vis that, and vis-a-vis AI." Second question is, MSR mentioned about almost contextual knowledge, right? So something that we call technologically RAG and VAG, verified augmented reality, and that agentic AI. How would you think about, so if you were leading Cargill or ITC or any of those companies today, how would you create that contextual pool and that vertical depth of knowledge and utilize AI there to make a difference, not just to the company, obviously firstly to the company, as how would you run the company, but also to the economy as well. And second question is, what internal changes would you be faced and forced to implement in the company today because of AI? How would you think as a leader, as the CEO, as the chairman, what changes would you implement today because AI has come up?
So, I'll take a step back.
Sure.
And when I entered the industry or agriculture, there were not too many professionals. So I used to define it that Indian agriculture was actually a tripartite agreement between God, government, and the grower. Right. And the villain
That's well
was
said, yeah.
and the villain was the trader. Oh. And that was reflected in our movies, where you had the trader exploiting the farmer, and enough movies of that time. And so when we came in, we were the industry. So the trader was replaced by industry, and industry had to then bring about the improvements in how these three elements worked. And most of it was about de-risking, because the biggest risk taker actually is the farmer.
Is the farmer, yeah.
I mean, he's exposed to all the elements, he's exposed to government policies. So a lot of company efforts were really about de-risking. And because the base was risky, so any company trading in commodities, supplying products, was really about, what price you were buying it. Maybe the prices fall after that, or they go up. And that was the whole challenge of managing these companies. That
Right.
how do you buy low and sell high,
Right,
and
right.
get it right all the time.
Yeah. So replace the trader and become a larger trader? Is that?
Now the difference is that the trader was still a small guy. Industry had an image, stakeholders, a global image. So you had
A
to be
reputation
looking.
to protect.
You had to be looking good
Right.
also. So, but that was not only about looking good. It was about how are you going to make all your stakeholders successful, because you couldn't, and that's where technology came in. 25, 30 years ago, we used to wonder that, in India, which had like at that time 65% of the population dependent on agriculture, less than 2 acres of holding, how will we ever get to address the problems of Indian farmers? But today with technology, and that's where AI has come in, it has essentially come in to de-risk agriculture. And the challenge will be not really in creating technology. It will be about carrying that technology. And that is where the companies are focused
Exactly.
on.
So
Right?
what would Cargill do today on that?
So we actually did this in 2004, which is said that, okay, we are going to be procuring directly from the farmers. So we set up procurement centers, which was then obviously technology wasn't as advanced.
Right.
It was disseminating information to the farmers, being present where providing farmers with inputs where the farmers were.
Right.
And that worked on another logic. If you notice, I mean, that's the trend, that a farmer sells everything in retail, sells everything in wholesale
Right.
and buys everything in
Everything in
retail.
retail, yeah.
So that's the worst
Scenario
equation
to
to
be
be
in,
in,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we had to change that, which is when large companies could buy in wholesale and give it to the farmer there at that price at his location. Now this was all manual at that time. Where technology has come in and where companies are now adept. Now in terms of the data, just the basic farm level data is today where AI is coming in. Then it is about soil condition. It is about predictive sort of information on pests, weather, relating the satellite imagery to the condition on the ground, and creating that ecosystem on the ground to actually disseminate that information to the farmer in a language and the right context. Because,
Right.
you can't be having presentations, as you said, it has to be how to do it rather than
Implemented, right.
just telling them what to do it. And I think a lot of companies are devoting their time and attention in doing that, because that is where their source comes from. And then obviously they've built technologies to carry whatever they convert those produce to, whether it is food products or whether it is now from agriculture, they're producing a lot of, fuels and everything. That is where the technology piece is coming in.
Right. So what do you see, the second part of the question that I asked, what do you see is the internal dynamics changing within the company, for example, any company, we could call it any company for that matter. How would those internal dynamics change? What, if you were to hold a review meeting today of the top management team or the strategy retreat today, what would you tell your top management team that, look, now is the age of AI. What is it that we do? And how do we do it differently?
So what is where this thing is coming in is a few areas where it is your customer understanding is much better, thanks to. So the resources that were deployed for that, the marketing pitches are, today you have the opportunity of using technology to create content yourself, right? I mean, the whole role of agencies somewhere is the creativity piece is coming under. Then it is about predictive. I mean, in commodity or food companies, this whole supply and demand numbers prediction. So the jobs of analysts, those are getting, I won't say getting challenged, they're getting more sophisticated.
Okay.
The tools available to them. So I see AI coming into these organizations as tools which improve efficiency, which get more certainty and reduces that element of human error or human judgment or biases. Of course, AI is also accused of getting in biases. But the focus really is on how are people getting better in delivering whatever they were delivering by leveraging the technologies coming in.
So can you give me an example of a particular bias that you faced earlier, which you think the AI will be able to handle effectively? Because bias is a problem that, we all talk about with AI. And we've seen that those examples, right? You get a response which is critical of somebody only because of the data that AI has been fed, right? Typical stereotypes around gender, around race, around color, around religion. And there are multiple examples. In fact, I was noticing that IBM actually came out with a perspective, a benchmarking tool to check for AI biases. Right. So when you said that, I was very fascinated to ask you that question. That give me an example which you think would have crept in earlier, but now with AI, maybe we can equalize that because it's not a person deciding, or it's not a person responding.
So this would typically happen in trading situations, right?
Okay.
Where you would say that, okay, when the crop comes in, the prices will go down, and as if you stock more. I mean, this whole trading concept was about buying at harvest and storing it.
Right.
Now, in the recent, because the trading can be physical, can be on the exchanges, this whole concept of how to predict a supply-demand situation and price prediction has completely taken that equation off. I mean, today you have much better predictive technologies on how the price movement would be, or how the stock movement would be. I mean, the biggest challenge we faced with the government was that the data was always wrong. I mean, in terms of crops or whatever. That element is now getting cleaned out, and that is where a lot of decisions which were made on such historical biases are now getting corrected to more informed decision making.
Sure. Thank you. So, Shirazji, I want to pick you to pick up from there. Shirazji talked about, the idea of data being available. And your work is on data, AI, ML, generative, and matching it to the human context as well, right? Think about the idea that, look, when he talks about that, the data is much better available. We can talk about removing biases, much wider scope, organizations getting larger and larger. Do you think it's a game now only for large players to play? Is it, again, because I want to come back to that question with MSR as well, but how do you see that role of data evolving? And do you think there could be a democratization of data? And also one thing that he said, which, I'd like to pick up on, the government data was always wrong, right? So how do you, how do you react to that? Why would I say that, what gives me the confidence today to say that, look, that past data was not really right. Today, maybe we are getting better data. Do you see that problem when you work in your PhD or in your company as well, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one important thing is data is everything.
Right.
So AI is just an insight on top of it, generation output on top of it.
True.
The better the data is, the better the output is. Right?
Garbage in, garbage out, right?
Exactly.
Old traditional IT wisdom,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
And the same thing applies out here.
Yeah.
So there are many more mechanisms. So what we call is in the entire AI journey, the effectiveness of the AI prediction is directly proportional to the cleanliness of data. So the word we use for this is authoritative sources. Right? So am I getting this? Yes.
P.D.A. Yeah.
Am I getting information about you from LinkedIn, or am I getting information about you from your website? Am I getting information about you from the IAM profile that you have? Where am I getting information about you?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So authoritative sources is one part. Right? Two is now there is a larger initiative in every firm. It's not about big, small. It's about how do you qualify the data. So there are three terms we use. One is called authoritative source. Two is called data quality, right? The data quality, there are many metrics. There's data management body of knowledge, DMBOK, if you heard, where there's seven parameters, accuracy, freshness, and many more parameters we do.
Relevance,
and the third one is relevance, exactly. Suitability, we call it suitability to the use case. So I might have 100 pieces of information, but it might not suit your use case to predict it, right? The third part is lineage. So once I generate the insight, the lineage, can I track back to which source gave it? Lineage equal to in mathematical language, explainability of it.
Explainability,
Yeah, totally. So these are three aspects. And it's of the highest paramount importance. Building models has become very easy nowadays. AI itself is building its own, writing its own code. Now, but AI cannot clean your data. The focus is more of clean data now.
So, MSR, have you also had this concern over the years that the quality of data coming out from this country is really not what it should be? For example, Shirazji commented, Sunilaji commented on that. And recently, we have had this concern not just in agriculture, what Shiraji highlighted was what IMF has been saying about India's economic data, GDP data, loan data, earnings data, the debt data, and we almost have one of the lowest data reliability, credibility rankings given by IMF to the national data that the government of India puts out, to the finance ministry puts out. When that data gets challenged by an institution like the IMF, and you get one of the lowest categories possible for a sovereign nation, and we have concern from practitioners, both seasoned practitioners across industry, one focus on agriculture, the other focus on IT, multiple companies, Accenture, Google, so on and so forth. Do you share that link, and how do you see that problem solving in the Indian context?
No. So clearly it is an issue. We can't wish it away, and we can't.
But just let me add one more point. If data is a problem, then everything else becomes problematic, right? Because all our AI output is on that data. Then how do you trust that? Then in the viewers, the entrepreneur community, the question becomes about trust. How do you trust what is being told to you?
Sure. I think Sunilaji talked about a couple of things. One is explainability, second is verifiability, and third is lineage, right? We have an issue, right? Okay. But the way I
so
look
you
at
agree
it,
that India has an issue?
There is a definite issue. Okay. Let's not
mince words.
Let's not skirt around the problem.
Right.
We have an issue.
Okay.
But having said that, right, I think now, I think given that we are all seized of the issue, we are starting to see the first signs of a data culture, right? So, for example, if you take Aadhaar as an example, right, the first large-scale institutional effort where whatever 1.4 billion people, you have some source of, and again, I don't want to.
Which the Election Commission is saying you can't trust now.
I'm not getting into a debate.
But that's an institutional response by Government of India. Election Commission of India is saying you can't trust that data.
That's why I said I don't want to go there because we'll get into.
But now you're skirting the issue. You just said we don't want to skirt the issue.
Having said that, I think we are starting to see, for example, if you take health, there's a particular initiative which the government is doing, the National Health Digital Mission. So we are starting to see the first building blocks being put in place, right? Commercial data, there have been obviously entities like CMIE which have been doing a wonderful job for a long time.
Right.
It's an evolving culture. It's a thing which will take some time, but I think clearly, one thing which is clear, ground rules, is if the data quality, and data is what you're going to be training your models on, if that isn't good, some of the inferences which you'll draw may not be the most appropriate or the most right. So I think this is something we understand. It will take some time. And obviously we also understand sometimes there are quote unquote vested interests which may not be interested in ensuring that the quality itself is high.
Right.
But I think this is something where it's, I think Victor Hugo said this in a different context. This is an idea whose time has come.
Right.
So clearly, this many initiatives. So, for example, a lot of the work which you've seen around the OpenStack, starting with UPI, etc.
Right.
I think we are starting the ONDC and so on.
Yeah.
So these are all initiatives where you are looking at public good, creating a digital, open public
Platform,
infrastructure.
yeah.
So I think we're making progress at the risk of treading on a few toes. On a scale of 10, we are compared to what we were a few years ago. We are maybe right now at about 4 or 5.
Okay.
And we will get to
maybe 7 or 8.
7 or 8 over a period of time.
Okay.
Right? Good things take time. So
yeah, Rome was not built in a day. Very true. Very true. Shiraji, you've experienced it from both sides. I'm sure you've seen policy implications, and when you talked about predictability of analysis, you talked about predictability of the market prices, you talked about predictability of the stock and equity. How do you handle that situation when there's a shock in the environment? For example, tariffs imposed by America. Right. So all of a sudden, You had your predictive analysis, you had your equity markets, you had your performance reporting to the board. Look, we're standing at an X factor price valuation today. In 3 months' time, my stock market is going to be X plus 1.5 or 1.3 or whatever that is, right? The market is going to be for soybean so much, for pulses so much, and so on and so forth. And suddenly you've got a market shock like tariffs coming in, right? Changes the world overnight, topsy-turvy, or, Russia attacking Ukraine and lots of supply chains getting blocked, right? Shipping routes getting blocked because, some country decides to do something. How do you respond to that? What guardrails and grills, if I can use the terminology from AI, what GNG would you like to put in place to respond using AI on that perspective?
So, a typical corporate response to a shock would be that what's the opportunity there?
Right.
So it is like saying that, okay, if there is a problem, there is an opportunity to get there.
Yeah.
But this is what we do from a strategy perspective, is in terms of scenario planning. And that's where the information or the data that comes in is where the quality improves. Initially, or in the past, it was all about people's experiences, that this can happen, 20 years ago this had happened, so what can happen now, kind of a thing. Now the responses are backed by much stronger evidence, and that's where assumptions are backed by more stronger evidence in terms of data history. And again, the quality of data, but here the quality of data is much better, I would say, where events have happened, how did the dollar move when something like this happened, or what were the, other, which are, like today we are facing this environment, which was talked about for the last so many years, has made organizations pretty resilient and prepared for war risk, weather risk, geopolitical risks. So, and what technology is actually doing is reducing the human element in it and making it more fact-based and measurable, which is essentially saying that, okay, this is the quantum of impact which can happen, or this is, how it will be mitigated.
Right. So literally what Shraji just said, a couple of questions arise from that. Firstly is when you're talking, so typical going back to scenario planning instituted by Shell in 1950s for digging up oil wells, that's where the process scenario planning took off, right? So the idea, again, there are assumptions, right? How do you model the future into that? Can the past really predict, explain the future? Or can it maybe not predict, maybe not explain, maybe can it soften the impact? Can it give you a direction? For example, dollar pricing was something that Shiraji brought up. Can you say that suppose if we were doing a certain part of the economy differently, and if we had diversified a market somewhere else, and if there was a market which is larger than the United States or equal to the United States, then maybe the dollar would have behaved differently, right? So, yes, I agree there's a lot of value in scenario planning, de-risking, risk strategy, registers. But still, on top of that, everything, we've seen crumbling. We've seen 2008 financial crisis. We've seen the, crash in equity markets repeatedly, year after, gap after gap. Every 12, 13, 14 years, we see some dip. Every 20, 30 years, there's a major blip, right? How do you model that? How do you think about that? So what's the guardrails and the grills you would put in, and what you would recommend organizations to do today, in very, very, brief, in when dealing with AI?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
so
I would
I'll
also
probably correlate
like
to
say
some
that.
of my experience in my research as well, but I'll make it a generic one. So there are two aspects. So I will pivot on two words you mentioned. One is assumptions.
Right.
Right? One is easy. World will say Sunila lives in Hyderabad is true. But a closed world, non-availability of a fact is not a fact.
What a fact, yeah.
Yes? Closed world is that. So I would like to talk about that differentiation. Right? So when we are training AI models, am I training them for general usage? Like, it's okay to predict Sunila is probably living in Hyderabad for my marketing of some jewelry or clothes.
Right.
Right? There's no harm in it. Right. But in a closed world domain context, like you want to make a decision for an organization or a major political information should be inferred from it, right? Then you might want to go for a closed world assumption.
Right.
Right? So there are two aspects. So it depends on what problem you're solving. You either switch to open world assumptions or closed. So anything which is social media, it's open world.
Yeah.
Anything which is business specific, in a bank, if you're working and you have to make a decision, it's always a closed world.
Okay.
It will not press you. That's part one. Part two, gone are the days where historic information is giving you enough cues to predict something new.
Yeah.
Because there's less method to madness. There are some there are some kind of patterns you can bring it, but the prediction of false positives, false negatives is what we call, right?
Yep,
The confusion metrics in
Yes.
AI models
Yeah.
that we call it.
Hallucinations.
Absolutely. Yeah. I wanted to talk about that too.
Okay.
So hallucination is a case where if the information is not there, it'll assume.
Yep.
Right? That's an open world assumption, right?
Assumption,
So
yeah.
if hallucinations occur, then I can't operate in my business. Right? So you might want to cover the hallucination and provide more facts
Right.
with it.
As
So,
much as possible.
yeah, my latest experience has been none of the cases where historic information or patterns are identified, I could predict something or generate something new with much more accuracy because now the whole intention of enterprise context has come. Take an example of a supply chain firm, right? There's a business context to it, domain context to it.
Right.
Take an example of healthcare. There's a business context, domain context. What are the parameters of the context today matter more to predict than historic behavior? That's my take on this.
Right. Okay. Do you want to add something to that, sir? And can I just add to the discussion, bring in the perspective of what Karl Popper, the famous economist, talked about the theory of falsification. So instead of going and looking for all white swans in the world, you go and look for a black swan. And then you say that, well, there's no black swan. That's by definition, the closed world argument would become that all swans are white. Right? And if you can find one black, then by closed, observations, it would become that there are black swans as well, right? But the two questions. One is, can that be applied to futuristic contexts? One. And secondly, when you look up, the more value would come out from the more open a context is, the more open world an assumption is, because that will add more value because you have lesser control on that variable. If you get it right, there's more value, right? So how do you balance that contradiction there?
I think Siraji talked about VUCA.
Yeah.
I think the latest is Bani,
Right.
So we should
Switch to Bani now. Yeah.
brittle, non-linear, incomprehensible, etc. So I think two parts. I think none of us, neither AI nor none of us has really a crystal ball.
Sure.
Okay? And who would have predicted, in the last 5 years, COVID, and then, the Russia, Ukraine, etc. Or in the Indian context, GST, demonetization, and so on, right? So there are some things which are...
8 p.m. announcements are unpredictable.
No comment on that. No comment on that.
Sure.
Right? So I think what these models can do, and I keep saying this again and again, AI can give you information, but ultimately I think it is human reasoning, it's human judgment, right? And the ability to connect the dots, right? And I think Sunilaji and I can have an argument on this. There are some things where I think human ingenuity will still
Rule the world.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm an optimist on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So, humans will still rule the
So
world.
we call this HITL, human in the loop.
Right, a human in the room. That's right, yeah. So, humans will still rule the world. Human ingenuity will still continue to be important. Machine baad mein, insan pehle. I probably still have that with more support from the machine.
Just to add to this, right? I think I'm sure there will be a question, and maybe I'm kind of preempting this.
Right.
Should we be fearful of AI?
Right.
Will AI create loss of jobs?
Yeah, I think let's wait for, because I'm sure that question is, that's why I didn't touch on that topic, because everybody's heart and mind is there, is it going to take away our jobs and so on and so forth, but let's wait for that, right? So, humans going to be important, and, from VUCA to BINA to, the world becoming more brittle, more fragile, in that sense, our roles will not only just get magnified and become more important. Leadership issues will become more important. Human issues will become more important. Human ingenuity and leaders like yourself, like MSR, like Sunilaji, like Shirajji, will become more important. That's the message we give today. Do you want to maybe close in a sentence or two, and then we can open the house to question answers? And I'll start with maybe Shirajji.
Yes, so
But briefly,
just
please.
going, AI as a tool in the right hands has the potential to solve many problems which were beyond comprehension. And I would say that AI coming in is the next phase or the change after mobile telephony came in. And I think that's where we stand. It has great usage, but it can make a lot of negative impact.
Thank you. Srinaji, some brief comment,
Yes.
closing statements.
Yeah, sure. See, overall, I feel I'm very optimistic, and I see a lot of positive side of AI. What I could not think even 1 year ago, we're able to uncover with many things. I think we should look at what kind of potential this would give in terms of uncovering new capabilities which will enhance and improve our own life. That's what I would say.
So AI for good, as you started. Yeah. Okay. MSR, closing
I
remarks.
think just quickly, right? So when you think about, every job we do has a list of tasks associated with it. Some of the more repetitive tasks, right? For example, summarizing a document, doing some fundamental kind of analysis will
Minutes
all
of the
be done by
meeting.
AI, right? And that is where I think there's a significant opportunity. So I think the people who do well are people who recognize that some parts of what they do can get automated with AI.
Right.
But that also gives you an opportunity to say, listen, so we will need people who can frame the right questions.
Yeah.
Ask AI the right questions so
Yeah.
we can draw the right inferences.
Inferences.
Second part, I think, is AI literacy. In my view, I think that's going to be important. What can you do with it? What can you not do with it? Or what should you not do with it?
Right.
Is going to be
Very
really,
important.
really important.
Okay.
And the third part, and I'll give you an example. I was talking to a company which went and hired from some of the IMs. And one of the things their HR head told this guy is, listen, when we hire you, we are not hiring you. We are hiring you plus 3 or 4. We have subscriptions to these 3 or 4 LLM models.
Right.
So
Right.
we're actually hiring 1 plus 3.
Right. Okay.
Right. So learning how to
So learn how to use that.
learn how to use that, and this human AI collaboration,
Right. HAI.
I think is going to become
Yeah.
very important.
Right. Perfect. Perfect. So thank you all so much. And let's open the house to questions. We have a huge team here and we still have time. We can take at least 3-4 questions here. Yes. Could you please somebody carry the mic to the gentleman there? And can I just request not to repeat questions?
Yeah. This is Divakar with Red Fire Creations. It's an enlightening session and a lot of information flow. We have discussing about the Vision India. Mostly in the AI perspective, this is the disrupting world. We are doing, I think, always downwards within the domestic sort of things. What is the global perspective? What are the initiatives that it's an opportunity for us to take the leadership? We lost the manufacturing era to China, and there are so many things with AI and with IoT, with robotics, and so much of transformative technologies and the resources available. What are our initiatives towards the global leadership in terms of preventive? There are so many things which can we think of. Can we orient some of those conversations towards the global sort of exposure what we are doing for the leadership? Thank you.
Right. So basically the perspective should be global as well. That's what you've said, right? Is there a question as well? Okay. And do you want to ask, whom do you want to ask that question? MSR, can you just answer that question, please?
I said, I think there are plenty of opportunity. We are a unique country. 20% of the world lives here, right? And so when I think about opportunities for India specifically, I mentioned this, there are plenty of high friction areas. We have very large, small and medium, close to 40, 50 million SMEs. One, we have 22 or 23 registered languages, right? We have a very large public service delivery infrastructure. We have lots of data, so data annotation, etc., are plenty of opportunities. Healthcare, for example, which is something which I am very passionate about.
Yeah.
The opportunities for healthcare triage,
Comes out,
etc.
yeah.
So I think there are plenty of things where, for the global south, I think we can be a
Leaders.
leader. We can let the big guys do what they are doing,
Right.
but we should think global, act local, and solve local problems.
Well, thank you so much. Any other question we have? Yeah. Okay. Maybe we can get.
Check. Good morning. Thanks a lot. It was pretty enriching and educative session on this. Most attractive word or keyword is Vision India.
It is,
So
yeah.
my question is, by the way, I'm Suresh. Janmabhoomi is Hyderabad and Karmabhoomi is Bangalore. My question is, as Vision India, he was talking about global, I'm going absolutely local. Okay, what is that couple of things we can do for tier 2 and tier 3 cities?
Okay.
Okay, because I had been in urban world and I see this is not real. 90% of India is actually non-urban. So I would like to hear from any of the three panels or all the three. What is that
No,
one initiative?
specifically ask one person because, or if somebody,
Yeah.
one person wants to go have a go at it, we don't
Okay.
really have time for everybody to answer every question.
What is going to be our number one priority
For tier 2 and tier 3
tier 2,
cities.
tier 3 cities?
Okay.
Thank
whom,
you.
Whom do you want to ask that question?
I'll leave it to them.
Anybody wants to go with that? Shiraji, you want to go with that?
Yes, I think the tier 2 and tier 3 and even lower, I would say that the challenge for the country or the opportunity for the country is that how do we retain the population, the young population in those places and give them opportunities for growth there. You know, everybody packs his bag and moves to the city.
Yeah.
And that is not what is good for the country because we're obviously having distorted growth. And that is where technology and AI in particular, has the capability and the capacity to create opportunities for people to be where they are and still be
Get
productive.
trained, right.
And we've talked about agriculture. I think everything that MSR mentioned and I referred to was saying the value of AI lies in its human interface and teaching the humans to convert that into skills which can then deliver outcomes to population,
Valuable
which
to the
large part of it which lives in smaller towns and villages.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you. And Kamalji.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Sir, this is to Siraj, sir. In an AI-driven parametric insurance, this is on the farmer's case,
Right.
where the question of did an event actually happen, and specifically to climate disasters, which farmers go through on a regular basis. Is in India, is parametric insurance has become a safety net for the farmers, or is it still an elegant idea which is yet to find its ground? How would
No,
you
it
see
is
that?
actually working, and there are live examples of that. So typically, it's a three-way measure. So there is crop cutting experiments on the ground, there is satellite imagery, and there is for the local weather stations. And this is where technology and human interface happens. So I'll give you an example. There's a big rainfall event. A farmer will claim that his crop has got destroyed. When the water recedes, the crop is better and bigger, and there's an insurance claim. How does an insurance company verify it? It takes the before and after pictures and is able to say that, okay, your plot still looks good, so where is the crop destruction? This was also an example given to me where, the government gives you 5 acres or 6,000 rupees, or in Hyderabad, I think Telangana, they were giving 5,000 rupees to the farmers, right? A lot of farmers actually were not cultivating, the urban farmers or whatever, and they were still collecting money, right? Now through satellite imagery, you can actually check which
Whether
are
the cultivation is taking
which
place or
plots are being cultivated and which are not, and I think they're changing the policy to do that. So this is where technology, human interface, and policies actually come together to make the system efficient.
Thank you. Any other question? Yes.
Sir,
Yeah.
this is Bhargav Avinash. So my question is something related to the political, so anybody can answer. So how this AI, if the EVM is tamperable, in my case, if I say the EVM is tamperable, if AI is introduced into the EVMs, so the entire result will be coming to within a single button structure, the result will be go up or down. So what is the political parties is ready to face this AI technology into the EVM matters?
Well, if that's question addressed to me, then I can say that, look, our national president has already raised the point that elections should happen through ballot papers. And I think that answers the question. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? We still have maybe time for... Oh, we have one question here. Oh, there. Okay, please. Yeah, here. Sure.
Focus on AI development. Now, I think I'm working at a level where we see AI and models and LLMs are already commoditized, right? And then from a corporate speak perspective, we say like, to capitalize on AI, you're either going to bundle up or you're going to unbundle. We have talked a lot about bundling up and talking about like experiences and applications and verticals that we can build. What is the value add and value capture that we can do from an unbundling perspective? Building chipsets, building hyperscalers, building data centers, building power capacity. All of this is going to be needed, and we could be selling, shovels in a gold rush. Any thoughts from the panel on that?
Shilajit, can you take that question, please? Yeah.
So I want to understand the question a little better. So you're talking about when you say unbundling, it's more in terms of the infrastructural pieces?
Yes. Unbundling the entire AI stack, right? So right now we are focusing a lot on building applications. And we have heard a lot about, we can build a lot of experiences on AI.
Yeah.
Right? And then the question is, we can also unbundle,
Correct.
from a value capture perspective.
Yeah.
Right? Because from China's perspective, they have the power capacity. From a lot of other perspective, they have the data center capacity.
Correct.
And India can benefit a lot from that perspective. How do we create the value capture and how do we focus on that sector as well?
So how do you capture value across the value chain, I think, and when you unbundle the value chain, that's the question. Yeah.
Correct. So there are a couple of things I want to talk about, right? I think in a way, this is already happening in the form of the way cloud is evolving, right? The unbundling of all the layers on what a model requires is getting decoupled. So there are more and more firms and more startups and more companies, signing up for cloud. So where the infrastructure data centers are already decoupled in this place, the tooling is decoupled in this place. Which tool can work better in what? So if you see there's already a proliferation that's happening, I personally feel it's a matter of a few years from now where the tooling becomes more democratized as well, where which tool applies better for what is already coming up. So to start with, probably you're sticking with one kind of a source, one kind of infrastructure, one kind of a data center today, right? But with the evolution of layered stacks as well as the cloud, this is already proliferating. The best of the lots, which are demographically broken, also is happening, right?
Thank you. We just one last question here right in the front. I think he's been wanting to ask a question for a long time.
Yeah. Hi, this is Shekhar Reddy here. I'm from Global Integrated Solutions.
Right.
I worked with MSR sir when he was the CEO at T-Hub. So we were official vendors for all the media that came into the business. So my question is one specific to MSR sir and one generic. Sir, you mentioned that LLMs are not to be continued or, LLMs as a model, you said, but I feel that it still needs to reach the rural area as mentioned by one of my friend. Only the urban area people who are already qualified enough are wanting to approach AI for time reduction in their works and job. But as mentioned by Siraj sir, for farmers and for rural area, it needs to be taken much into the ground level at rural area is my feeling, and that's where my company Global is working on LLM. And also the people who got trained in our platform have developed tools which you mentioned needs to be focused as solutions. One is to handle the front office for big companies as an AI chatbot, and the other one is to use AI tools to better market using AI tools. These two models have been developed by my team. So I think we are working on the local solutions, giving a solution to the global. And my general question is the data protection and data quality. So I think for governments which are not willing to maintain the websites in transparency, where are we going with the data quality? And is government really ready for sharing that and filtering that data is my question. Thank you.
Yes, I think the government is ready, and we've heard the question loud and clear. It needs to percolate to the ground level. That need is felt, and I think I can answer on behalf of the panel that that's something that we wish you good luck with, and I'm sure it will do a better job. Thank you very much. With that, we close this session.
And there are any regulatory bodies coming up on AI?
And let's all We're thankful to the panel. Thank you so much for being here. And let's all welcome, join our hands in welcoming for the super session, Honorable Sheikh Shadoo ji. Most welcome, sir. Honorable National President, Samajwadi Party, former Chief Minister, Uttar Pradesh, Member of Parliament 5 times. Most welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us in this session. And with that, I would like to request Rajiv ji to please come and give a token of thanks to our guests on the dais.
Check. All right. Thank you, everyone on the panel for such an insightful session on the importance and impact of AI on India. Let's welcome Dr. Rajiv Rai, Honorable Member of the Parliament.
Can we have, yeah, please. Yes. Rajiv ji requesting for giving a token of thanks and remembrance to MSR, starting with MSR ji. Yeah. Thank you very much. Token to Sunila ji, please. Thank you, Sunila ji, for joining us for the session. And a warm remembrance token for Shiraji. Thank you, Shiraji, for making it possible. Thank you very much, everybody. And we can have a group photograph, please. Rajiv ji, please join us for the photograph. I'll join this. You want to come to the front? Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Please come.